The movie End Times 2023 opens with a haunting radio transmission, hinting at global catastrophe. The initial dialogue describes a Red One situation, a military code suggesting a critical and widespread emergency. Amid fragmented transmissions and static, the world as we know it appears to have collapsed into chaos. The audience is thrust into an apocalyptic scenario, where a mysterious epidemic has decimated humanity. The struggle to survive. The story shifts to a bleak, desolate room where a young girl, Ronnie, is suffering from severe symptoms: labored breathing, fever, and a chilling admission, "I got it, don't I?" Her companion confirms her fears, and the atmosphere becomes increasingly dire. The ambiguity surrounding it heightens the tension as viewers piece together that the world is battling a deadly contagion that turns its victims into monstrous, zombie-like creatures. Amid these grim circumstances, Ronnie's father appears, searching for her in a frantic and emotional reunion. However, the moment quickly escalates into chaos when Ronnie begins to exhibit violent, inhuman behavior. Her transformation is a harrowing representation of the epidemic's reach, forcing her father into a heart-wrenching confrontation. A harsh new reality. The narrative follows survivors navigating the devastated landscape, characterized by abandoned cities, smoldering ruins, and the omnipresent threat of the infected. These creatures are described as primal, driven by an unrelenting hunger and stripped of their humanity. Survivors must fight for their lives against these beings and the moral decay that arises in desperate times. One survivor, Freddie, is a hardened yet pragmatic former operative. His backstory reveals he worked in special operations and shadowy government roles, suggesting he has a deep understanding of the chaos enveloping the world. Freddie encounters a young woman, Alexis, who is struggling to make sense of the apocalyptic landscape. He reluctantly allows her to join him, warning her that survival comes with hard choices and unrelenting vigilance. Moral dilemmas and humanity's collapse. The film paints a grim picture of societal collapse, where trust is scarce, and humanity's darkest impulses surface. Survivors encounter groups exploiting the weak for resources, leading to chilling scenes of violence and exploitation. In one harrowing sequence, Alexis faces a group of hostile scavengers who mockingly bargain for her life. The scene underscores the precariousness of survival and the lengths to which people will go to preserve themselves. Freddie, ever the reluctant hero, saves Alexis but stresses the importance of self-reliance. His gruff demeanor masks a deeper sense of guilt, as hints of his morally ambiguous past surface throughout the film. His mentorship of Alexis becomes a central theme, as he teaches her the brutal rules of survival: fight without emotion, stay inconspicuous, and avoid unnecessary risks. Unraveling the mystery. As the story unfolds, the cause of the epidemic is revealed through conversations and fragmented news reports. The contagion initially appeared in rural areas before spreading globally, overwhelming governments and infrastructure. It becomes evident that the infected are not merely zombies but representations of humanity's primal instincts, reduced to their basest form. Freddie explains that certain individuals, like Alexis and himself, may have temporary immunity due to a common anti-malarial drug, doxycycline. This revelation raises existential questions. What happens when their immunity fades? Will they too succumb to the primal infection? The uncertainty looms over the characters, adding layers of psychological tension. Building to the climax, the duo's journey leads them to a fortified urban zone, rumored to be a last bastion of organized resistance. Along the way, they face relentless threats from packs of infected to rogue human factions. A particularly intense scene involves Freddie training Alexis in combat, forcing her to confront her fears and fight one of the chained infected. The sequence is both a rite of passage and a stark reminder of the brutality required to survive. Amid their travels, Freddie and Alexis encounter a ragtag group claiming to offer safety in exchange for supplies. The encounter quickly devolves into violence, revealing the predatory nature of some survivors. Freddie's strategic mindset and combat skills save them, but the toll of taking lives weighs heavily on Alexis, challenging her morality. Themes of redemption and hope. Despite the unrelenting despair, the film explores themes of redemption and resilience. Freddie, haunted by his past, finds a semblance of purpose in protecting Alexis and teaching her how to survive. Their dynamic evolves from distrust to a surrogate father-daughter relationship, highlighting the need for human connection even in the darkest times. The pair eventually reach the outskirts of the fortified zone, only to discover that salvation is not guaranteed. Military forces have strict orders to contain the epidemic, treating anyone inside the quarantine zone as expendable. The film crescendos into a final act of defiance as Freddie and Alexis confront their mortality and the choices they've made. Conclusion. End Times 2023 concludes ambiguously, leaving viewers pondering the fate of its protagonists and the broader implications of the epidemic. The film masterfully blends action, psychological tension, and moral dilemmas, crafting a narrative that is both harrowing and thought-provoking. The breaking point. As Freddie and Alexis move closer to the urban fortified zone, their journey becomes increasingly treacherous. The infected grow more numerous and aggressive, while other survivors become even more desperate and predatory. At one point, they stumble upon a group of survivors held captive by a gang that uses the weak as bait to lure the infected for sport. Alexis is horrified, but Freddie warns her against intervening, citing the dangers of getting involved with other people's battles. His pragmatic stance, however, begins to crack as he sees the emotional toll this world is taking on Alexis. Alexis's decision to free one of the captives, despite Freddy's protests, leads to a chaotic confrontation. The infected are drawn to the noise, forcing Freddy and Alexis to fight their way out. This moment is pivotal for Alexis, who confronts Freddy about his seemingly heartless approach to survival. Their conversation reveals the weight of Freddy's past actions, including the people he's sacrificed in the name of survival. A glimpse of humanity. As the pair finally approach the fortified zone, they encounter a small, self-sufficient community hidden within a makeshift bunker. The inhabitants, led by a woman named Marisol, welcome Freddy and Alexis cautiously. The bunker is a brief reprieve from the violence and despair outside, offering a glimpse of what could be rebuilt if people work together. However, it's not without its own internal conflicts, limited resources, distrust of outsiders, and differing opinions on how to handle the infected. Freddy, always wary, notices cracks in the community's structure. He warns Alexis not to let her guard down, but Alexis begins to hope that maybe they've found a place where they can rebuild their lives. This hope is short-lived as the infected breach the perimeter during a violent storm, forcing the inhabitants to flee or fight. Freddy's leadership and Alexis's growing confidence in combat are instrumental in helping a small group escape, but the losses are devastating. Facing the truth. The movie delves deeper into the psychological struggles of both characters. Alexis grapples with the loss of innocence and the realization that survival often comes at the cost of one's humanity. Freddy, on the other hand, confronts his growing guilt and the possibility that his hardened exterior may no longer serve him in this world. During a quiet moment, Freddy confesses that he's been running from the infected and from himself. He reveals that his immunity may already be fading, and he's beginning to feel the early symptoms of the infection. Alexis is devastated but vows to stay by his side, despite his insistence that she should leave him behind. The climactic battle. The final scenes take place on the outskirts of the fortified zone, where Freddy and Alexis face an overwhelming horde of infected. Using the last of their resources, they attempt to signal the military for help, knowing that doing so might also attract the attention of those enforcing the quarantine. The battle is relentless, with Freddy using his tactical knowledge to outmaneuver the infected. Alexis proves her growth and resilience, holding her own against the horde. However, Freddy's condition worsens, and he sacrifices himself to buy Alexis time to escape. In his final moments, he reflects on his journey and the hope that Alexis represents for the future. A hopeful yet ambiguous ending. Alexis makes it to the fortified zone, where she is intercepted by heavily armed military personnel. The screen fades to black as Alexis pleads for her life and the possibility of help for those still inside the quarantine zone. The ending leaves viewers with unanswered questions. Will humanity find a way to combat the infection? Was Freddy's sacrifice worth it? And what will become of Alexis in a world that seems to have lost its humanity? Themes and takeaways. End Times 2023 is a gripping exploration of survival, morality, and resilience in the face of unimaginable horrors. It highlights the thin line between humanity and primal instinct, forcing its characters to make choices that define who they are and who they want to become. The film's ambiguous conclusion underscores the uncertainty of survival in an apocalyptic world, leaving viewers to ponder the fate of its characters and the broader implications of their actions. If you enjoy watching this video, then subscribe to Angel Recaps for the latest movies explanation.